Hey, good evening, guys. I was a little delayed because my laptop camera was not turning on, and I was like, "What's going on?" I finally, after some fooling around and going down, I finally just turned to the old standby, turn it off and turn it back on again, and that actually works. So here we are. So you can actually see me and see my face, whether you want to or not. So yeah, I just thought I would. It's been a little while since I did a it's kind of a podcast, sort of, but it's a video cast. So I don't know what it's called, a podcast, I guess. Or I just talk about. A lot of times I just talk about movies I watched recently. If I've watched a whole lot of stuff and I just haven't done a podcast, like some people do a weekly thing or a daily thing even. My schedule doesn't allow me to do such things, so usually on the weekends is when I can really get a chance to occasionally do one of these. So anyway, Anna's taking a nap right now, so she worked early this morning, so gives me something to do. So here I am. Welcome to this exciting podcast. So anyway, I thought I'd talk about a few things that I've watched recently and give kind of some reviews. I will give spoiler warnings if I'm giving full-on spoilers of things. Overall, it'll just be kind of like, hey, I watched this, here's what I think about it, or here's how this could have been better, or whatever the case. And then maybe I'll talk about some other stuff. Sometimes I just ramble on about random things. So anyway, and I have some other ideas of things to do for podcasts and things like that, which I'll talk about later. But anyway, here's some shit I've watched recently. So I'll just go down the list. And yeah. So I don't know if I ever talked about Bar Rescue before. But I thought I would mention that I'm obsessed with Bar Rescue to the point that I memorized the intro. Of course, then you get to the 5th season, they actually cut the intro now. They don't even have the thing where nobody knows more about bar science than John Taffer, and that's very upsetting because I used to quote it every single time. Yes, I'm insane. So, yeah, I'm actually writing a sketch where I'm going to play John Taffer, too, for the sketch show. So I'm calling it John Taffer Saves Christmas. So that'll be fun. But no, I find the show interesting. I just think it's sort of like how a lot of people liked Kitchen Nightmares, which is good, too. I don't know. I kind of have the people who loved Gordon Ramsay. I have that same thing for John Taffer. So, yeah, Bar Rescue. Check it out. Yeah, me and Anna a couple weeks ago went and saw Long Legs. We were originally going to do a review, and then just didn't happen. We were tired, and sometimes you gotta go to sleep. That's how life works. But no, I would just say that we really enjoyed it. It's definitely up there. It's neck and neck with Late Night with the Devil as far as my favorite horror film so far. So far. Red Robin. Swallowed that. Anyway, yeah, Nicolas Cage is really good. He has his cagey moments, like in the car where he's like, "Daddy, mommy," and it's like, oh, there's the Cage we know and love. Yeah, but he also has some very creepy moments in there, and I like the girl from It Follows. She's really good. Why am I blanking on her name? I know her name. Anyway, fuck is her name? Now I have to look it up. Damn it all. What is her name? Why did you say that name? Interest. I have no interest. Why you tell me I have interest, Googles? I have no interest. Long format process. Long Legs. Micah Monroe, that's her name. Micah Monroe, yeah. She's really good. I think she plays that kind of Jodie Foster Silence of the Lambs role pretty well. And this was directed by Oz Perkins, who is actually the son of Anthony Perkins, who played Norman Bates in the original Psycho, as well as a couple of those sequels that they made later on. And who me and Anna watched a movie of. There's a great actual big video store in Seattle named Scarecrow Video. If you're ever here, check them out and support them, because they need your support, because nobody wants to go to a video store anymore. But they have a lot, like classic movies and TV shows and everything else. Most of the stuff you want, modern stuff too, that you can just rent from them, and you can have it for a week. You can rerun it, whatever you want to do. I suppose I got to tell my wife that. But anyway, yeah, and it's really cool. We rented this one with Anthony Perkins, which I've already forgotten the name of it now. But he's basically like, his dad really encourages him to play baseball, and he's like one of those really bad little league dads who's like, you let down the family if you don't get to the pros, I think it's something strikes out or something like that. I forget what it's called now. But anyway, no, he's really good in it, and you can definitely tell that he has these moments of like, he has like a nervous breakdown because his dad's like, all right, we are going to go to the majors. It's one of those time of like, you're going to basically live my dreams that I couldn't succeed at. And he like tells his son he wants him to be on the Red Sox after 1 year in the minors, and you're going to rot in the minors, and you're no son of mine if you give up. And stuff. The way he ends up going to like a mental institution. And he has these facial expressions. You're like, okay, I can see why they chose him for Norman Bates. But it was fun. It was fun to watch that one. So yeah, but Scarecrow video, really cool. You should definitely check it out. But anyway, yeah, Oz Perkins is his son, and so he's an actor as well. But like, he was in Legally Blonde. But he also is a director and had done a couple horror films. And there's a great ambiance in this movie too, where like, as opposed to the typical jump scare that you would get in a lot of movies where you're just like, oh, yay, oh. And don't get me wrong, I fully admit, I jump at those damn things sometimes. Like, like I do. I'm a scaredy cat. I fully admit it. But I like it was because there'd be moments where you're like, there's just like a little bit of lighting in the background of the darkness, and you're just like, you're expecting something to come out, but then it doesn't. But it's just that uneasy feeling. So he did that really well. And like I said, the acting is pretty good. There's a little bit of predictability in sort of towards the ending and all that, where you're kind of like, okay, that's what I had feeling. As my friend Nick in my other improv group mentioned, he says he gives about a B+, A-, as in like, it's really good, but there's like a few little things that maybe didn't add up, But overall, though, I really definitely, me and Anna really enjoyed it a lot. And apparently this is supposed to kind of like almost be sort of a trilogy of movies. Like, I don't know all the details on it, but there's going to be something that connects to this that he's going to be working on. So that's always fun. All right, cool. So that was that. And then last week we went with my friend Josh and we saw Deadpool and Wolverine. So I won't give away any of the cameos or anything like that. I'll just say that if you enjoyed some of the Fox movies or certain characters, you'll get to see some of them, and they're used in fun ways. Some are quick and easy, little quick cameos or nods, and others. But no, it was a good time. It was fun, funny, laughed a lot of good action. Hugh Jackman's of course great as Wolverine. He has been for 20 some years. But yeah, I definitely highly recommend it. It's a fun movie. That's what I like about it. It's definitely up there for my favorite movie in the theater too. But it's a fun movie. It's a good time. To me, I feel like it's. And some people said, "Oh, it's all fan service. There's no story." I disagree, because there's a friend who said, "Oh, it's all fan service, no story." I'm like, I disagree, because there's still a story. Yes, there's a lot of fan service in it, but like, it's very much a nice homage to the Fox movies and all that, the ones that Fox made, Marvel, Fox. But like, I think that's the thing that people have to understand. And like I said, you get Wolverine in the actual yellow suit, and he gets the mask, So it's like, the thing that people have to understand, I think what we've forgotten so much, and maybe a little bit with the Snyderverse stuff, or a little bit of some of the MCU recent stuff, is that at the end of the day, this should be fun, and you should be having a good time. You should be laughing, but like, I feel like the laughter is done in a better way with Deadpool and Wolverine, as opposed to like, I'm just being quippy because I'm in a Marvel movie. Let me take this uncomfortable moment and make it quippy, which was some of the problems with some of the recent stuff. And it's just like, so there's a balance there, but I felt like this one did it well. And it was actually a lot of fun. And it's like acknowledging things. Of course, there's the fourth wall breaking. That's always a thing. But with Deadpool, and with She-Hulk, I think that what's fun about it's like I'd like to see more Marvel movies like that. Like they don't all have to be like quippy, funny ones like this. You know, I think that the Captain America one that's coming out has a nice political thriller you know, s to it. No, esque. That's not a word. Political thriller type feel to it is what I should say. And yeah, so I think that's pretty cool. It looks pretty decent. Plus, it's got Harrison Ford. I'll be there. I have a rule of thumb: if Kurt Russell or Harrison Ford or Willem Dafoe is in it, I'll probably come check it out, or at least I'll watch it on streaming if nothing else. Yeah, like Willem Dafoe's in that SNL movie that's coming out. And I'm just like, I didn't even know he was in this. And I'm just like, well, now I have to see it. I mean, I was probably gonna watch anyway, but yeah, I will say with the Long Legs though, like there was like maybe one horror movie preview that like looked interesting, and that was that Cuckoo movie that's out now. Like that one looked actually freaky and decent. Some of the rest of them, there's this one with John Cho, and it's basically like if Alexa, you know, took over your family or something. It looked really bad. Like it just like, and it basically feel like you saw the whole movie. There was another one that looked okay. That had the guy from Haunting in Connecticut, and he was a Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I always forget his name too. Damn it, what's everyone's name? But anyway, yeah, you know, you've seen him in a lot of stuff, but he's kind of like a serial killer. That looked okay. That looked okay. But mostly, sometimes I watch the trailer and I'm just like, I'm good. Like I was talking to my friend Nick as well, and it was like we were talking about the new Alien movie coming out. Now look, as far as the way it's being filmed, it is very reminiscent of the first and the second movie and stuff like that, in terms of like that uncomfortable feeling of no one can hear you scream. But it also feels too same-like. It's so, you know, like my wife was saying, she says, I feel like I've already seen this, you know, and it's like, that's true. It's just a bunch of different characters, but like, you feel like you've seen it. I think that's the problem with the whole Alien thing, is that like, unless you go totally different like Prometheus did, or maybe you do like what they originally had for Alien 3, which was that they were gonna come to Earth, which they did a little bit with in Alien Predator Requiem, but that was an Alien versus Predator movie, not an Alien movie. I think that's the problem with the Xenomorph, because it's not like the Xenomorph is like Freddy Krueger and he talks and they're quippy or something. You can be like, where you can do different things, or you can set it in space. Well, they're already in space, so you know, where you can like do something different with it. You know, I just feel like once an Alien movie is like, how many times can we see, you know, the face hugger on someone's face? How many times can we see it burst through the chest? I mean, it's been done. You know, it's kind of one of those things. You know, like Predator, I feel like has more potential. Just because of... Now, actually what Alien could do is, like, set it... Like what they did with Prey was actually really genius, honestly. Because it set it in a different time period, a different setting, you know. I think that's the best way to do it, you know, with Aliens. Like, let's set it in colonial England. I don't know. Why are they in colonial England? I don't know. But, you know, Xenomorphs are creepy, don't get me wrong. But you also just feel like, okay, well, I could just watch the original and Aliens and be perfectly fine. And, you know, it's funny. Alien 3 is bad. It's a bad movie. It's very messy and just bad. But I kind of had a little bit of a guilty pleasure for Alien Resurrection. It's not great. But I did see it in the theater. And I did have kind of fun with it. Ron Perlman's in it. So, that you know, Winona Ryder. So it's like, it was kind of fun. Not great. Didn't, you know, wasn't as good as the first two, obviously. But, yeah. So, yeah, that's one of the things I'm just like, I'll probably watch it on streaming. You know, so sometimes you just kind of like, some people like, have this idea that, like, you can not tell if a movie's going to be good by watching the trailer. Like, oh, we haven't seen it, so you don't really know if it's good or not. I think I kind of do. I don't get me wrong. If you see like a very vague trailer that doesn't give a whole lot away, which is very rare, like with Long Legs, like I went into it completely blind, not knowing what the story was about. It was very like vague, creepy, but like very vague, and that worked. I've mentioned the story before, I think, where like the first time I saw the Hangover movie, like I hadn't seen any trailers for it. I just went in blind, and it was a lot of fun. Now, when I rewatched it, all the jokes didn't really work as much because I'm like, oh, I've already seen this. Sometimes things, it's kind of interesting with comedies because sometimes things can replay. Like, I can watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles like every year and laugh my ass off every single time. And then there's others where it's just like, it was funny the first time I saw it because it was, the shock humor or something, and now you're just kind of like, it's okay. It's not as funny for me. Some stuff has replay value, some stuff doesn't. Anyway, but no, I do think that sometimes there are times where, like, you can be absolutely wrong. Like, you can see a trailer that doesn't really do it for you, and then you'll end up watching it, and you're like, oh, I was wrong. This is actually a lot of fun. And then there's other times where it's like, nope, I was absolutely right not to see this in the theater. And I'm glad I didn't waste that full money on that. Anyway, back to things I watched. Like I said, yeah, Deadpool Wolverine, a lot of fun. Definitely check it out, guys. It's a lot of fun. And, that's the only Marvel movie we're getting this year. So, I think we got the Agatha All Along show coming up on Disney Plus, which I watch. I like the character. I don't know if it was a necessary series, much like Echo, but I watched Echo and it wasn't too bad. And this looks like it's just fun. It's kind of Halloween-y, so I'm good with that. And I think they're making another season of What If, and I'm just like, who cares? Can I call it Who Cares? I don't give a fuck about What If. I'm sorry. Plus it's just like they're just so like every fucking goddamn season has to have at least 3 or 4 episodes with fucking Captain Carter, and I'm sick of that character already. Like, it was fine for a one-off story of like, what if she got the thing and said that, which is fine. You didn't want to do that as a one-off story, but like every fucking season she's in at least 3 or 4, and it's just like, we don't need to have this character in every fucking thing. It's just like, come on. And plus, what ifs were fun as like one-off comics, and it's just what if MCU stuff, and it's like, yeah, well, what if they made a better movie? What if they didn't use this character who sucks instead? But that's a whole nother conversation for another time. But yeah, no, I think it's pretty good. And I'm looking forward to some of the stuff coming out. Daredevil's coming out next year, March. Look forward to that. I think that's going to be a good series. So, yeah. And like I said, I'm looking forward to more Marvel movies and DC. I'm looking forward to the Superman, the Creature Commandos. I think that's going to be some good stuff. Like I said, I'm a comic book guy, so, I enjoy that type of stuff. Anyway, let's get back to other things I have watched recently. So, The Jester was a really B movie. It feels like they sell Terrifier, and they're like, how can I make a Wish version of Terrifier? And that's how we got The Jester. I recognize one actor at the beginning. I forget his name. I'm forgetting a lot of actor names. But anyway, he was on Billions. He was on Banshee. He was the sheriff on there, but kind of took over as sheriff, but he was kind of the deputy. But like, he's been in a lot of things. Character actor. But he gets killed right at the beginning. And I'm just like, okay, well, I recognize that guy, and then I don't care. But it was just like this Jester kind of character would show up, and it was kind of like Terrifier, but not that good. Like, I finished it, but I was just like, oh, well, that was 2 hours of my life when I get back. So I'm going to go thumbs down on that one. So as far as series I've been watching, I finished the 3rd season, and well, I'd watched all the seasons now, Mayor of Kingstown. Excellent show. Jeremy Renner's in it. Diane Weiss was in it. And they just randomly took her character out of there. They killed her character off, not because she wanted to leave, just storyline element, I guess. But which happens. But I definitely missed her because she was the mom from Lost Boys. Come on, But yeah, Mayor of Kingstown, really good show. And he filmed this season right after he had that horrible accident with the snowmobile thing or whatever. So it's like, it's props to him for coming through that okay, and he was also being a real life hero, saving someone's life when that happened. So good on Jeremy Renner. So much mad respect. Plus I also want to defend him because I remember a couple years ago Rachel Zegler, who has already gotten a lot of controversy for some of her stuff with their little whiny comments. Basically about Snow White and all this. But which I guess there's a trailer for that. I haven't watched it yet, but I look forward to laughing at how horrible it looks. Sorry, not really into live action Disney. Let's remake our every fucking animated thing we ever did into live action. Yeah. I've just watched the animated one, you know. It's not interesting. And it's nothing to do with her being Hispanic. That doesn't bother me at all. You can have a Hispanic Snow White all you want. It's just her kind of smug attitude. I think that's the problem with most of it. And I think that's why some people, and I don't have a problem with Brie Larson, but like when the whole Captain Marvel thing came out, everyone was up in arms because, why not do this for white men, you know? And it's like, you know, it's like sometimes people need to like understand what they're saying and how some people can take those comments. And I'm not saying those people that take those comments that way or out of context or whatever are right to get all enraged. I ain't saying that. But there is sort of a kind of attitude that some of these actors need to like come down to earth once in a while and understand, yeah, we don't really want to hear this. And I'm not saying like you want to speak out against political things and, you know, social things and things that we can do better. Okay, fine. But like there's a tendency to be like where they're just like, I'm just so snooty, you know. And for instance, she was on Twitter, and look, maybe she's apologized since then. I don't know. But I just remember she's like, can we replace Hawkeye with a black trans woman and all that? And basically just like accused him of being a rapist or an abuser or something like that. And it's just like, did you actually read the story of his ex, I don't know if it's his ex-wife or his ex-girlfriend? Yeah, she's like, what, like a heroin addict or something like that? And she's like, I think severely bipolar or something like that. And literally the judge did not let her have custody of the kid because she was a danger to the kid. So that's why he has custody of his kid. But yeah, let's just go off of one little thing because you heard one little thing or heard her side of things, and just because she's a woman you decided that you would lambast Jeremy Renner even though you had no actual facts, which is a problem because like by all means there are times, 90% of the time, where it's like, yeah, that son of a bitch is a wife abuser or whatever the case, and it's 100% true and they should be called out and all that stuff by all means. But there's other times where it's like people jump to conclusions. That's a big thing, where you jump to conclusions that something happened without getting the facts straight. Like, I don't know about all the Marilyn Manson stuff, but I did see that one person that had said that she was told or was paid to basically say that he did this stuff and it didn't actually happen. So, and you know, Evan Rachel Wood, nothing against her, but she is friends with Amber Heard, and if you remember that whole thing, there's, you know, I mean, I'm not saying Marilyn Manson is innocent, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there is one person who definitely came out and said they bullshit about it, so then you're like, okay, well, you know, now that comes in, and that's the horrible thing when people fake lie stuff about that, then it's really makes it that kind of concept of like, well, if this person lied, that means this other person lied. It's like, which isn't the case. You know, it's just like anything else. You know, it's like if someone was, for instance, let's say you got someone who was a clown, like murdered your family. Very dark thing. Well, let's just say that much. Someone who was a clown, they're a circus clown, whatever, they murdered your family. Does that mean that every circus clown is going to murder your family? No. You know, I'm just trying to keep this. I'm keeping this in a silly thing with the clown other than the darkness of the killing thing. But like, it's kind of like I'm using this instead of going with race or gender or something like that. But like, that's the example thing. It was like, just because one fucking guy is an asshole doesn't mean that every guy is an asshole. Just because one person is a criminal doesn't mean that every person is a criminal. You know, and that's something we have to get out of this mentality that we constantly do, or stereotype, where it's like, well, this person definitely did it because this is this. Okay, or maybe they didn't. Maybe let's look at facts. Let's look at the situation, and like, and when we have it on the table of facts, then okay, react accordingly. But there is kind of that sort of court of public opinion that we sometimes get into. This was originally about movies. I know I talked about Mayor Kingstown, that led me into a Jeremy Renner thing. So anyway, Rachel Zegler's stupid. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. Anyway, back to that. Boys Season 5. Now this one is interesting too. I try to stay pretty apolitical on this channel because I want people to just watch and have a good time. That's why I do the puns of the day and things like that. But I know there's a lot of people that got upset with this season because they felt like, you know, people usually on the right that were feeling like they were being called out in this season. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely some very on-the-nose stuff. with some of the characters and some of the stuff that's being said and done or inspired by. But it's also kind of like, it's kind of always been that way, guys. Like, from the beginning, it's like, did you not get that they were making fun? And they make fun of the left, too, guys. It's not like they just, like, are just all about the right. It's like, it makes fun of both. I mean, the whole girls get it done thing. I mean, it's like, I think there's a healthy enough balance. Me personally, I thought it was a good season. Some brutal stuff, certainly. Heck of a season finale. I'm interested to see how the 5th season turns out. That'll be interesting. Homelander's always a joy to watch. I love the actor. I think he's really good. I'm not one of those people who's like, yeah, Homelander. You know, it's like, no, the character's very messed up and mentally out there. But he's fun to watch play the role. And I like the actor. I liked him in that Banshee show. I thought he was great in that. So it's like, and of course I like Carl Urban. He's great. I like the whole cast. Honestly, I think the cast is great. There's all these people that like are constantly. Here's another thing with toxic stuff, of people that are just like constantly like mocking how the actress who plays Starlight looks different than she did, and that she had plastic surgery and it looks horrible and da da da. And it's just like, whether she had plastic surgery, didn't have plastic surgery, lost some weight, gained some weight. Why do you fucking care so much? Like, who cares? Like, let her live. Let her be, this character and do this. It's like, no one's asking you to fuck it. Like, there's so much of a judgy thing we have, especially with actresses, but like with actors too, where it's just like, well, it looks like they've gained some weight. It's like, why are you so fucking nosy for? Like, leave people alone. Like, well, it looks like they've really let themselves go. And just, why? Why be rude? I believe in trying to be as kind as possible to people, unless they give me a reason not to be. But, like, why? You don't even know this person, They're an actress on a show, like, if she had plastic surgery, great. If she didn't have plastic surgery, great. If it's botched, okay, that sucks. I mean, that happened to Tara Reid, It's like, plastic surgery is a choice and it is a gamble. I personally would rather it just be, used for people who maybe are like burn victims or chemicals or something like, that messed up their face, or someone who had like a horrible accident or was disfigured or something like that. I would rather that be used for that, as opposed to, let's get some fake boobs and fake butts and fake faces and facelifts and things like, I don't know. I just feel like a waste of money to me, personally. But I think you just gotta accept, how you look and go with it, and people are gonna love you for who you are, not what you can change. But that has nothing to do with what she does. If she chose to do that, that's her prerogative. That's her money. That's her life. Leave her the hell alone, guys. She's just trying to do her job and act and stuff. So it's like, I just like get off your high horse. And there's a lot of these guys are just it's very alpha male-esque, where it's just like, yeah, well, you're a simp, and it's like, no, I'm a decent person who tries to be respectful. It's kind of called being a gentleman and not being an asshole, and not expecting that a woman's just there to be your Susie Homemaker. It's like, you actually have to treat them like an equal person. What a concept. Anyway, this is about movies. I sometimes get sidetracked on here. So anyway, back to that. Because the boys is slightly political talking, that's why I got into it. Like I said, I'm still trying to keep things apolitical here. Adam and Anna, we sometimes will do some political humor here and there, on both sides, by the way. But I just try to keep things apolitical, because I don't want people to be like, well, I'm unsubscribing to this channel right now. Hey, no, just enjoy the channel. It's what it's here for. Alright, anyway, I watched this movie called The Best Friend's Exorcism. It was okay. I didn't recognize a whole lot of the actors in it. I think I'd seen a few of them in some things, like they were Mesa Young. But like, basically it's these teenage characters, and one of them gets possessed, basically. And the other ones are trying to juggle this person's exorcism and figure out why they're acting so strange. It was decent, but it wasn't the best. Like, it was trying to go for a horror comedy, but I feel like it got a little too serious at points, where I was just like, I think if you're good, the thing with a horror comedy is you have to balance the horror and the comedy well, and I feel like it leaned more into the horror aspect, which is fine, and like less into the comedy. And I felt like they had this one character that I liked that was like they were like these kind of like religious bros, and they were like doing like these after school specials and all that stuff. And he ends up trying to help her with the exorcism and all that. I thought that those characters had a lot of potential, but I don't think they did as enough with them. And I think if you wanted to lean into the horror comedy, like if you ever watched the movie Saved, the movie's great as far as the send up of like religious stuff. And Macaulay Culkin's in it. That's cool. Yeah, so it's decent. I mean, it's on Amazon. It's not bad, but it's just okay. All Hallows Eve. I had never seen this movie. This is not a new movie, but like All Hallows Eve was kind of the debut of Art the Clown. It's Art the Clown, right? Yeah. From the Terrifier movies. Now, it wasn't the same actor. It was a different actor playing him in this. But basically, it's kind of like they watch this videotape and then kind of comes out of the videotape and that kind of mentality. And it was definitely it was graphic and creepy. It was only about a 20-minute short, I think, is what it was. But it was decent. There's also a sequel, All Hallows Eve 2, which I haven't watched yet. Maybe I'll watch it tonight. But it was fun. It was cool to kind of get that kind of here's where this character started type of thing before we got the Terrifier movies, which, Terrifier 3 is coming out in October. It's going to be fun. Looking forward to that. That'll be one I'll be seeing by myself. Anna's not into that kind of horror so much. And that's fine. It does get a little graphic. But I had fun with Terrifier, too. I thought that was a lot of fun. And the guy playing Art the Clown is really good. They had a good final girl set up. I'm looking forward to having her character back in there too. Random Chris Jericho, just in there. It's like, oh, random Chris Jericho. As my wife said when we watched John Wick the first time, whenever she'd see an actor like Kevin Nash play the bouncer, and they're just like, how distracting to see you here. What are you doing in this fucking movie? All right, Chad gets the axe. It's like hashtag Chad gets the axe. That's actually pretty good. It would remind me a little bit of the movie Deadstream that me and Anna had talked about, where it's basically like someone who's got a YouTube show or like a Patreon or whatever the case, and they're kind of streaming, but they're also kind of that Logan Paul-esque of like, this guy's kind of a douchebag and we don't like him. So like they go to this haunted house or something like that, and they try to like, prank it essentially, or whatever the case, and stream it, and like, ooh, but then of course people start getting killed, and someone has an axe, so the people are hashtagging Chad gets the axe, and getting that kind of Patreon stream of like, oh, get the stream going, and then I thought it was pretty decent. My wife said there's a sequel, but I didn't see it on Shudder, so I don't know, but it was fun. That was another good horror comedy, because the point like you don't really like the character, but you also can get to a point where you're like, I kind of want to see this guy, see what happens here. Maybe this guy will get out of this thing. So that was fun. It's on Shudder. Stop motion. This was a weird one, because it's this woman and her mother had been like a stop motion, let's say puppeteer, but like, had worked with the clay and all that stuff to basically make those kind of stop motion animation type things. Movies, and that's what a lot of it's about, but like it's dealing with this woman's kind of sanity and stuff like that, or she's kind of connected to this weird darkness in the stop motion. The stop motion stuff was probably the best part of the movie. The rest of it just kind of came off the rails a bit, and her character came off the rails and stuff like that. So it was decent. I liked it. I think it's a Shudder original. But it was, it's very creepy, and they definitely use the stop motion animation really well, though. It's kind of cool to see that, because that used to be a big thing in the 80s too, with the stop motion stuff. Which it's fun, it's fun to watch this, and it's fun to see how they kind of created it and how they just kind of lean the thing a certain way and turn the camera. It's very neat. It's kind of educational too, Werewolves Within. This is a fun horror comedy as well. I found it on Hulu, I believe it was, but I think it's on HBO Max too, I think. Sam Richardson, he plays the new sheriff, comes to town, becomes the new sheriff, and there's all these people that are like, but then someone got attacked or whatever, and like, so there's this suspicion that there's a werewolf around. And so like there's a kind of guesstimation of like who's the werewolf, and I recognized a couple actors that I'd seen, mostly character actors, in here as well. And And so everybody in the town is kind of like, you got the guy who's the oil drill. He wants to build an oil well there or drill like a pipeline. That's what he's trying to do, is build a pipeline. You have a woman that's a mail lady. You have the woman that owns a hotel whose husband's ran out on her, and a couple other weird characters in there. But it was fun. And it's kind of a nice little thing where you get down to it and you're like, okay, well, I guess it's more about, it's played very much for the most part, played by like paranoia, like who's the werewolf, so they start shooting at each other and the person's not actually a werewolf. But then it ends up there actually is a werewolf at the end. I won't give away who. But it kind of comes down to it, and this is like, okay, this person actually is a werewolf. Okay, that makes sense. But no, it's fun, and it's played for laughs. There's a great moment at the beginning, which I totally related to, because he's driving, and like someone comes around and cuts him off, and he's like, "Wow, we're just going the speed limit." And I'm just like, "Thank you." That's what I deal with all the time. These assholes out here when you're driving, like the speed limit's 40, and they're like, and that's not fast enough for them, so they have to cut you off on a single lane road to just get around because they're in such a big hurry. And it's just like, so I laughed at that. I was like, thank you. I appreciate that, because it's like, that is so annoying when someone's like, oh, I'm in a big hurry. And I get if you have to be somewhere, but like, it's one thing if someone's like, oh, I'm going 20 miles per hour in a 50 zone, or going 20 on the highway or something like that. That's one thing. But like, you're just on a regular single street, like, slow your fucking ass down. Or those people that drive in a parking lot and they just like zoom through there like they're driving NASCAR. It's like, you're in a fucking parking lot. There are people walking here. There are sometimes kids walking there. Maybe slow your dumb ass down. Anyway, that's my rant. Another non-sequitur rant from Adam. I'm a rambling Adam. That's what I am. All right, where was it then? What's next? Oh, Arcadian. This is the other movie I watched with Nicolas Cage. This one's interesting because it's like it's sort of apocalyptic type of thing, and he has two sons, and like it starts off with him at the beginning, and he's got they're two babies at the time. But then it jumps ahead, and it's one of the kids is played Bill in the It movies, the kid Bill. He's been in a couple movies, Stephen King related movies too. And so they're two brothers, or whatever, and like they're trained. There's kind of this sort of creepy monster. It's very much a monster film. So like along the lines of a Godzilla, but sort of more along the lines of like Quiet Ones or something like that. I haven't seen that new one, but I heard it has cats, so I'll definitely see that. But yeah, it's pretty good. Nicolas Cage is actually not. It focuses more on the boys a lot. So like there's a point where he just gets like attacked and knocked out. So like, and he's just like knocked out for like 20 minutes of the movie. And it's like, Nicolas Cage is sleeping. That's his acting for this. He's really sleepwalking through this wall. But no, I thought he was fine, and I thought the kids were good. And I enjoyed the monster effects. It was somewhat CGI, but there was still kind of some practicalness to it, I think. Or it might have been all CGI. I could just be talking on my ass. But it's fun. I liked it just fine. And it ended in, a decent way. And I think they let the monsters be pretty vicious, too. Like, there's one, I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe you did that. So yeah, Arcadian's pretty good. All right, what's this? Body Melt. This was a weird one. It was an Australian film, and it's like these people were drinking all these like health shakes or something like that. But what it really does is ends up melting your body in from the inside and stuff. And it was very, very body horror-esque. No one of name that I know in there, but it was very, very very much a body horror film. Because it's just like they're trying to be like, it's one of those kind of things like, we're rich and gurus and we want you to get in shape and just drink this shake every day. It kind of had a feeling of like, have you ever seen The Stuff? Great 80s movie, which is all about kind of consumerism too. But that basically the concept there is that they find this stuff and it's so sweet and everybody eats it, but it's actually, evil. It's an evil alien entity, and it's so it's kind of that kind of similar thing, but with like health shake things. So yeah, it's interesting. If you can stand body horror, it's decent. Sissy. I watched this on was it last week or the week before? But it starts out with this girl, and she's like a streamer or like a influencer or something like that. And she has a best friend, and they got me all these flashbacks between her and her best friend and how they're gonna grow old together and be friends or whatever. But like, there's this thing from the past where like this snotty girl is bullying her, and you find out that she had attacked this girl, because she was being bullied. She didn't want to be called sissy and all that. So it ends up flashing up to the flash forward and all that to her being an influencer, and then she gets invited to this kind of get together, which the girl that she had attacked was hosting, and she didn't know she was going to be there. So it's very much a back and forth, and it is played for laughs somewhat, a horror comedy as well, and it ends up being like the situation where she's like accidentally attacks someone, and there's the whole thing where she basically gets away with it essentially. Spoiler warning, sorry. But she gets away with it basically, and so it was kind of what I liked about it was what Scream 4 wanted to do. If you've ever seen the original plans for Scream 4, was supposed to lead to a new trilogy, and basically the whole thing was that it was going to be up in the air whether Sydney had survived, and Emma Roberts' character was going to get away with it, at least for this movie. So it was like the Scream character actually gets away with it. And that was kind of what this happened. It was basically she gets away with it because the other person gets shot by a cop trying to attack her, thinking that she was the one that killed all these people. So, so she kind of got her revenge a little bit. So I like that. That was a solid film. Sissy. Knox Goes Away, Michael Keaton film. It was pretty good. Also very sad because he's a contract killer or a hitman, but he's older. And he finds out that he has a very fast-acting dementia happening to him, and he's still going out on jobs, to kill people. But he starts to have these kind of like blackouts of sorts. And they did a nice thing with the cameras where it would be like kind of like almost like the camera would just go dark, and then it would flash back to him. And so as things start to go, he starts to have these moments of just like blackouts essentially and all that. And he tries to reconnect with his son, plays by James Marsden, and Al Pacino's in it. He's a friend of his too that kind of helps him out and all that. But it's actually just it's a good action film, but it's also very much a drama because you see someone dealing with this and start to lose that mind thing, which to me personally is a scary thing to think about because my grandfather had dementia. And we watched him very much fade, and so that's actually been, along with other health potential things that are scary to me. That one's scary to me just because the idea of like not being able to remember my wife or remember my family and all that. That's to me is so yeah. The ending is very sad, because he's at a home and all that. He's just kind of looking out the window and all that, and it's just like yeah. So but it's a good movie. It's well acted. Michael Keaton, of course, is great, and Al Pacino as well. All right, and the last thing that I watched last night is that movie Tarot. It was just out recently this year, but basically these bunch of kids go to a house and they find a tarot card set and they do tarot readings, and then those tarot readings start to basically come after them and kill them. That's basically the premise. The only actor I recognized in it was the kid that plays Ned Leeds in the recent MCU Spider-Man films. And he was fun. But yeah, it just feels very like something I've seen before. It just feels like a very paint-by-numbers horror film. Not bad, but like the kills weren't super creative. It was just kind of like, well, I got smacked by a ladder. Okay. This one guy got hit by a train, and it was like, it was decent. Like, it was a good Netflix watch, as in I guess I'll watch this because I can't find anything else to watch. I'll watch this type of thing. And he was like, okay, well, I'll never watch this again, So it's it's okay. If you feel like watching something like that, it's an okay watch, but I wouldn't give it like high marks. I also watch I'll watch some of their documentaries on there too on Netflix sometimes. That's been kind of my Saturday night thing. Sometimes I'll watch a movie or I'll watch Seinfeld or South Park. But like sometimes I'll be like, I'm gonna watch a documentary now. I watched one. It was the most recent one I watched. It was Killer Sally, I think is the name. But she's like a bodybuilder, a weightlifter or whatever, and she was in this relationship with this other bodybuilder, and they were competitive bodybuilders, so they would do all the competitions, and so ends up that like she ends up shooting him because he was being abusive and he was choking and all that. But like the whole jury is trying to like, be like, oh, was she really an abused woman? I mean, she's a weightlifter. She could handle herself, and I'm sure she was abusive to him too. And and so a lot of his friends were all very much like, yeah, he was cheating on her, and he had to get his, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's to defend cheating. You married someone, but like so it was interesting just to see like different pieces of the puzzle in terms of that. It's like, well, did she shoot him because she wanted to, or did she shoot him because he really was abusive? So it was interesting, but man, this one lawyer, dude, oh my god, I've never wanted to punch someone through a screen so much in my life, because he comes on and he just looks like the sleaziest, slimiest, very equivalent of lawyer that you could see. And nothing against lawyers out there. I have friends that are lawyers, but like, man, this guy just looked like the most opportunistic asshole DA looking motherfucker. And this is what he would do. Like, the first time you see him, he comes up to the camera and he's just like this far up to the camera. He's just like, yes, and I was taking the case and I could not believe that she had been, it's like, first of all, sir, back up from the camera. You have a really large head for what he had a really large head too. But he just came off very like smarmy and just like, yeah, well, it's too bad that she had to serve time, and maybe she shouldn't have done this, and it's like, I just like, man, I get it, you had to do your job and shit, but like, he's just bragging about putting it, like, dude, like, and questioning whether she was abused at all, and just like, he was like totally like a total douchebag. I'm like, man, I just want to punch this guy. It's like, regardless of whether you feel whether what she did was straight out murder or not, but like, it was just like, man, what a dick. Wish he'd shot your ass instead. But, yeah, and it was like 20. She got out in 2020, I guess. So, that's, I mean, she's remarried. She seems very happy now. She's reconnected with her kids. And then you find out her kids had also gone through abusive relationships too after this. So it's like, it's just a horrible pattern. Like we were talking about abuse earlier. It's just like, it sucks when that type of stuff happens. But, so anyway, guys, it's 47 minutes into this godforsaken thing. I've managed to ramble a lot. So one of the things I want to talk about before I wrap up here is Star Wars. Because as you know, me and Anna had watched the Spider-Man trilogy and Batman and stuff like that. I'm not saying we're going to go and watch those again and say this, but like, for me, I just want to give a quick thing of like my Star Wars fandom in terms of where I land on it. For me, it's like I saw the originals when I was a kid, and I watched the prequels in the theaters, and I watched the recent sequels. So I've seen Rogue One, but like I basically haven't watched, outside of Obi-Wan, I haven't watched any of the TV shows that Disney's put out. I've seen clips of The Mandalorian, a couple scenes here and there, but I haven't watched them. So but I also really would like to do something where I'd be like, because to me, original trilogy, you can sit there and point certain flaws in it, but like, to me, it's like, that's the OG. And as Anna said, she's pretty much like original trilogy, and that's all I need. And that's fair. So I'm not a hater against the Disney Star Wars or anything like that. I don't want to make it come out like, they've ruined it. It's like, but it's also just like, it feels like right now it's just like content for Disney, and it just feels like, but I'm going to challenge myself to try to watch some of these Star Wars shows, just to kind of give it a fair atmosphere, going in with no real preconceived notions. Like I said, I watched the Obi-Wan, and I did enjoy that one okay. And I've heard good things about Andor and Osaka and things like that, but I just haven't got around to watching them yet. Because there's a lot of other things to watch, and it was like, so I would say, like, I love Star Wars, but, like, I wouldn't say that, like, I'm an extremely Star Wars fan, just like I'm not an extremely Star Trek fan. I like it, but I'm not one of those people that's just like, this is not canon, and this is, stuff like that. I'm just kind of like, okay, well, did I enjoy it, or did I not, But I would like to kind of look at, like, because the sequels do have a lot of, like, haters, but I'd like to look at, like, how I would have personally done it if I was to do those sequel trilogies over, like how I would have fixed certain aspects of it, because no one else has ever done that on YouTube. But like I said, I'm coming at it from a I don't want to say fair weather fan, but someone who's just like familiar with the movies and not really the TV shows or the books so much. I read one or two of the books, but like I don't know most of these characters. I didn't really watch the Clone Wars animation that much. A few people played it at work, but like I was just like, whatever. So yeah, but that's something I'd like to tackle. I'd like to like do like how would I fix this or how would I fix that. As far as the prequels go, I would have fixed it by making it not a trilogy and just making it one movie about him turning into Darth Vader, which was George Lucas is the only one he had a script for anyway. But yeah, so I'd like to tackle those sequels, and I'd like to actually try to watch some of these shows and give an honest review of them, so that I can look at it from perspective. Because I don't want to be one of those people who just like sees a trailer, like I was talking about earlier. Sometimes you'd be like, I can watch it another time, but like I don't want to just shit on a show. I watched all of She-Hulk, and I have my problems with it. I watched Miss Marvel, but like I try to at least give something a chance. But at the same time, when I have shows that I'm really into, like Mayor of Kingstown or Tulsa King, which is coming out with that new season, or some of the other shows I watch, Bar Rescue, when I'm really in gung ho with that, sometimes it's kind of like, I guess I can watch this. Like I started watching Fallout, and I enjoyed the first 2 episodes, but I haven't actually gone back and finished it yet. So it's like, yeah. So I think so. It's something I'm gonna try to do on the channel. I'm gonna try to tackle the Star Wars a little bit and how they could help. And I do think Star Wars' biggest thing is like I see that they're trying to build world building a little bit more and try to get a little bit away from the Skywalker story. And I think that's a good plan, but it's just got to be executed in a way that people are going to be interested in too. Because it's like I think with Star Trek, or even with something like Marvel's got like about 500 plus different characters that they can pull out of a comic book and go to town on. With Star Wars, it's kind of like, well, they have some characters, and it's like they have certain. But like Marvel, you can also have something like Howard the Duck is very different than like the Incredible Hulk. So if you do a Howard the Duck movie, it's going to be very comical and weird and stuff like that. Whereas a Hulk movie is going to be, at least should have been dark. Or like a Batman movie compared to a Superman movie in terms of the, different things. Whereas Star Wars has always kind of been more or less one universe, as opposed to Star Trek where you had Next Generation, and you had Deep Space Nine, you had Voyager, Enterprise, and all that stuff, and Discovery, and all that stuff. It's like, so I think with Star Wars, it's always kind of been this kind of that one kind of universe, and the Skywalker story has been basically told through basically 9 movies overall. So anyway, I'll go over those movies at some point. Not today. I'll do that as a separate thing. But cool. Thanks for joining me, guys. 52 minutes later. Like I said, I just wanted to talk about, sometimes I like to do one of these just to communicate and rant a little bit. Sidetrack rants, and just talk about things I've watched recently and give sort of quickie reviews on things you should check out and stuff like that. Definitely looking forward to Beetlejuice. Can't wait to see that. The Joker movie's coming out. Nosferatu's coming out. So, I said Terrifier 3. So there's a lot of movies that are coming out that I'm looking forward to seeing. In addition to other movies that, are non-horror or comedies or whatever the case. So, anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll be back with Pun of the Day on Monday. Have a good night.